the story coming out of Houston. All right, is Carmelo done? Is he done in Houston?
Yeah, I think so. I mean, by all appearances, by all indications, it's messy. It's not every day that you see Daryl Morey, their GM, come out and address something publicly like he did yesterday. And to me, it just spoke to the complications that come with having Melo on your team in 2018. I think, because, Daryl is well aware that there's so much respect around the league and the player community for Carmelo, but he's also aware that this is a team that unabashedly in the preseason talked about championship aspirations and that was the bar, that was the goal and nothing less. And so it's desperate times, and obviously they are shaking things up already as they've seen, the Melo thing not work and overall the collective approach not working like we thought it might.
Okay, so as for you said, the respect in the player community, it's not just any players. Dwayne Wade and LeBron have chimed in on Twitter overnight.
Right.
Dwayne Wade with some words basically saying, trying to make my guy Carmelo Anthony the fall guy, huh? And you all need to stop. That's the easy way out instead of addressing what the real problem. One of your compadres in the NBA Twitter or NBA media world, and Tim Reynolds, said Carmelo deserves better, and both Dwayne Wade and LeBron James retweeted that. What are they saying, Sam? Can you translate that for me?
I mean, I don't know what they're saying because the deserves better part. I don't know. Publicly, you've got the GM out there saying that it's unfair that the media is focusing so much on this. I don't know who. Honestly, I don't think anybody truly deserves blame when it comes to the way it's being handled. I don't think the Rockets are doing anything wrong by realizing that Melo's not playing well and not fitting in well. And I think that, the reality is, and this is, where I'm always guilty of being pragmatic and just trying to understand things. When they didn't bring Trevor Ariza back, is that a bad move in a vacuum? Sure, except that economically, based on where they were at with the luxury tax, you got to tell me that you think Trevor is worth cutting a check that I forget if it was like $60 million, something like that, based on what it would cost the organization. So that was a challenging business decision. Luke Mbamute is the other guy who they lost. He had shoulder problems. I can actually understand why the Rockets did what they did, but it's off the rails now. And now I think the danger for Houston, Rich, is that they've worked for years and years to make sure that NBA stars thought that they were a good place to be and that they did respect the best players in the game. Because as you remember, there was a time when Daryl Morey had this reputation as kind of the emotionless, tough to relate to executive who you didn't necessarily want to play for. He's changed that, and I think right now you're seeing him try to make sure that doesn't, this doesn't change the optics.
Okay, so then what's your best guess who they're referring to? Is it the coach? Is it Harden? I mean, who are they referring to? Is it Morey? Who did Dwayne Wade be referring to?
I can't speak for those guys. I think, honestly, if I'm in their shoes, I think they're just taking up for their guy, and I think they know the optics that it does look like. They're making Melo out to look like the scapegoat. And maybe, if I had to guess, they probably are looking at Daryl. I just don't necessarily agree with them. The D'Antoni thing is obviously really tricky. We all know the backstory, that the time in New York didn't go well. And really it seemed like, Mike's coaching career was going to be going down a dark road at that point because of the conflicts that he had with Melo stylistically. He wanted to play him as a stretch four. Melo didn't want to do it. They just didn't mesh well. So I don't know who they're kind of, taking aim at specifically. I just think that these guys are brothers to Melo. They are extremely tight with him. And it's not even just the Banana Boat crew. I just saw Damian Lillard was, saying the same thing, saying you got to keep some respect on Melo's name. But, I don't know. I just think it's hard for those guys to see his name kind of get dragged through the mud like this, but he's not playing well, and he's not the same guy he was a few years ago.
The Rich Eisen Show, weekdays at noon Eastern on Audience.